Hi, I'm Dr. Mark, and I'm going to help you sing and perform more like the top artists around the world. I'm a professional voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. I've helped thousands of singers around the world learn the techniques and methods that got the top singers to where they are. Let's talk about what makes JYJ's performance of In Heaven so awesome. Here we go.
지금 와서 말할 수가 없어 너의 기적 그 모든 게 환상 같아.
Okay, let's talk about what's going on with the lights. So the mood that they're creating around is what? Nighttime, right? Nighttime, and the other thing that the lighting does for us isn't just establish time of day or whether we're inside or outside or mood, but it can also kind of tell what the lighting source of that location is, right? By its color and its intensity. So this one is kind of imitating nighttime with a really bright, full white moon that's out shining down, right? That's what it makes it feel like. We have this downlight, it's dark, and that moonlight, that white light, still lets us really pull focus to these singers and still lets us really highlight them. But you realize that it's really mostly light coming straight down from the top and not a whole lot hitting their face full front. And it creates this kind of mood. The other thing I want to point out here is you'll notice that these coats that they have going on, they're red, so they're contrasting really nicely and in the same world as this dark blue. But they have this sheen to them, so it really is reflecting some of that blue, or it gives us this kind of blackness to it as well. It's not just a solid red. That texture matches of that black sheen that we kind of have on this coat, matches their shirt, matches some of the other blacks we're getting in with these blues as well, and it kind of helps tie it all together, but also gives us visual interest, this texture, which really pulls our attention to these singers as well. The other thing that we notice straight off the bat is their hair color. They're each different, which lets us really kind of identify each one as a unique individual, even though they're wearing pretty much the same thing, and the lighting being really dim lets us really still focus on three characters rather than kind of melt into ambiguous images, right? They keep this kind of clarity in there as well. So I think that's really cool and is really effective. Vocally, they're keeping it really soft, really easy, really light. We hear this kind of shimmer in their voice, this vibrato shimmer that's already kind of there. And it's just really easy to listen to, really pleasant just to kind of get lost in the sound. Awesome. They have a lot that they can do with that sound. They can make it even softer if they wanted to, but they got a lot of room to grow it, which is always really, really smart at the beginning of a song.
서서히 기억 속에만 잠겨져 가는 것만 같아 어딘가에서 날 보고 있을까.
Okay, both of them so far, they're kind of in their middle lower ranges. So you'll notice we're not seeing much upper tooth smile yet. This lip is kind of covering these top teeth. The jaw is releasing. We do have some space in here, but it's a little more collapsed. It's a little lazier. And it's a little more speech-like, right? Just keeping it simple. That adds this kind of feeling of intimacy, nighttime, conversational element that is going on here. And so it's working for them. It's working really, really well. I haven't watched this all the way through, but I'm guessing if and when we get to middle higher notes, we're probably going to see that upper tooth smile come out, the jaw release a little bit more ass space and back. Right now it's a little bit collapsed in the soft palate. They're adding a lot of extra air in terms of volume of air, and so it's making it sound a little bit breathy. Chord closure not as intense. Also what's making it breathy. That said, placement is staying really consistent, breath flow is staying really consistent, which makes it sound professional and deliberate and purposeful. One of the biggest things you can do to take your sound from sounding amateur to professional is taking care of this consistent airflow. The ways you can do it on a Z sound, and make sure that you can sing through the entire song in a Z. You can do it with a straw through your mouth or with the oovostraw. You see some links down below to those as well. You can blow through those and get a consistent airflow on the other side. Again, if you use straws, you want that smaller diameter stir straw size. And just be aware as you're using those that you got to keep those abs out. You got to keep this 80% of a yawning smile space there, and you got to keep that airflow as consistent as possible. The temptation is new note, new pulse of air, or higher pitch, push harder, or lower pitch, just relax and do nothing. It's that consistency, that legato line that really is crucial to making it sound professional. And we hear that across the line in about any style, any genre. That consistency of airflow is one of the things that the audience, without them even knowing or being aware of it, are going to lock onto and say that's a professional sound or that's an amateur sound.
후회해도 늦어버려 볼 수 없어 추억의 그림자에 촉촉한 내 눈물들로 그 자리를 지켜보고 있어 난 못해 정말 못해 네가 내 옆에 있을 때만큼 미안한데 그게 안 돼 이젠 모든 게 떨려와.
One thing I'm seeing here, you'll notice when we pull back to the center position that you'll notice just by posture, he's standing in a way that's making it so his head is pulled forward. Can we sing that way and sing healthily that way? Sure we can. Is it going to be harder to sing healthy that way? Yes, it is going to be harder to sing healthy that way. Why? Well, first of all, you can imagine if you were to take a flute, right, and bend it, it's going to be a lot less efficient getting that air through the flute. And when we take our neck like that, that's essentially kind of what we're doing. We're kind of intrinsically putting some tension in there, putting a bend in there, so that air has to travel in a way that isn't quite as efficient in making sound. Now, can you argue that? Sure, you can argue it all you want. And I think there's some great arguments against that. But the other elements of what happens if you're putting your head forward there is that by default, you're putting strain and tension right here through the strap muscles in your neck, the back of your head. And consequently, that's going to travel and influence what's going on with your tongue and your throat. And that's going to introduce a lot of extra tensions. You're noticing that some of these muscles down here are wanting to bulge out a little bit. Does that mean you always have to stand perfectly tall and stiff and rigid? Definitely not. Of course not. But what you want to be aware of, especially if you're just starting to sing, is finding a position that's nice, relaxed, open, tall, where this pipe is really oriented top to bottom, really vertically oriented and lined up well, so that you can feel what it feels like to have the most efficient instrument possible. So that then if you go and alter your posture, you can find ways to adjust so that you can still keep that instrument working as efficiently as possible, even if you aren't in the ideal posture, which as we're performing, we're almost never in an ideal posture because that would just look strange. It'd look rigid. It'd look like you're Batman frozen, right? And it just wouldn't work. So the key here is being able to stay fluid and flexible and keep this voice working so we're eliminating as many tensions as possible that aren't necessary for singing and that aren't necessary for communicating the emotion that we're communicating either. And for the most part here, when we're watching, the sound is really relaxed. The bodies are really relaxed. And so is there anything to really be concerned about here? No, not really. Unless they came and talked to us afterwards and they said, I'm feeling kind of tight and tense and I feel like my voice is burnt, then we'd have something we need to talk about. But for the most part, what I'm hearing here, it sounds like a sustainable, really consistent, easy to listen to sound. 결국 네 안에서 눈을 감을까봐 가지마 더 가지마 내 곁에 있어줄. So you'll notice there before the voice went a little crazy, right? We really didn't keep that consistent airflow. It really pushed and pulsed. That is a choice that's used in that moment. It added extra emotional intensity and energy in that moment. That moment was not about singing pretty. It was about being emotionally intense and kind of being a little bit unpretty vocally for the sake of being emotional, being expressive. Reeled us in. It did its job and was very effective. My guess is it probably cost a little bit vocal capital, got a little bit tired there, but then he's about to hand off the baton, so he's not the center of attention anymore. So it's a very deliberate choice of when to spend that vocal capital, when to break from doing the standard healthy voice stuff to capture an effect. Is that good or bad? No, it's performance and being able to be smart about the choices you're making and be deliberate about what you're wanting to communicate. And to me, it seems like a very calculated and smart choice.
전혀 들리지가 않아 사랑해 널 사랑해 한마디 보여줄 수는 없니 사랑해 널 사랑해 또다시 사랑해주겠니.
Hear how that consistent vibrato lasted all the way through the end? If you feel like you're cutting off a note and it's really difficult to get to cut off and to not sound super abrupt, really imagine that your vibrato is carrying all the way through that note super consistently in amplitude and in speed, and that it's staying nice and shimmery. And if you imagine that that vibrato continues beyond when you stop making the sound, it's one trick you can use to keep your voice from clenching up, tightening up around a cutoff of a note, so that it sounds like it just kind of continues on even when you stop making sound. And it doesn't sound abrupt, it doesn't sound like a mistake, it just sounds like you stop making sound rather than you cut it off, right? And it does a great job here. Notice how much it just stood out to me again, how their hair color really makes them each pop out individually from a distance. I mean, that camera shot was back a little bit. It just, bam. They look like an entire group because their hair matches the entire color scheme of their lights and costumes and everything that's going on. And it seems so planned. The color of their hair, it still all lives in the same world, the same kind of color palette, so that they feel like an ensemble, but you can really identify each individual. Such a smart, cool choice in what they chose to do to make this feeling of ensemble and individually at the same time. I'm always fascinated by K-pop groups, their ability to really create this sense of ensemble and together, and at the same time have each person seem and feel so unique. The designers and who dress these K-pop groups, I think, are brilliant. I think they do a really cool job at designing their looks so that they capture the music, they capture the overall look and energy and feeling of the group and of the individual. So awesome.
벌써 이렇게도 지내왔어 너의 흔적 찾아봐도 지워졌어 마지막 네 기억도 눈물의 태엽 속으로 잠겨져가는 것만 같아 이만 끝내 나를 끝내 네가 내 옆에 있지 않다면 미안한데 이만 갈게 이제 너의 길을 따라 끝없는.
Okay, the other thing that I want to point around that I was noticing earlier too is the glitter falling, right? If you're being really critical, you always want to ask why. What function does it serve to have that particular element? Yeah, it's always fun just to have all kinds of crazy stuff going on, have it be exciting. Yeah, but at some point there's a level where if it isn't contributing something, then it's going to be distracting. What I thought was really cool, it was with that glitter, you hear in this piano part that kind of captures this sparkly, shimmery feeling that this sparkly confetti coming down kind of communicates on a visual level. So it's really fun to see some visual element that's captured in the music that then relates to the story as a whole. And I think that was kind of just a cool little detail in there that really made it that much more magical. I think that was pretty cool.
길을 따라 널 찾아 헤매이다 결국 너를 잃고서 슬퍼만 할까봐
Middle higher, notice how all of a sudden we got this ass shape, upper teeth came out, jaw released down. You'll notice the consistent patterns. If you're watching these videos over and over again, you'll hear me keep talking about some of these same things over and over again. I'm not trying to be repetitive, but I am trying to point out how there are consistent patterns to what we're seeing people do across style, across genre, that is consistent and that is worth exploring in your own voice and singing to see if that helps you achieve the sound that you're going for and help you sing in a way that's easy and consistent. Notice we lost the sparkles, but then the sparkles went on the LED screens behind, these little flashes of light. Cool. Okay, so one thing I want to emphasize here is the value of having things in real life versus screens, right? And being able to tie those two worlds together. And I think they did a really cool job with what I was pointing out there earlier, where we lost the falling confetti, but then it went on to the LED screen behind. It doesn't mean they have to mirror each other, but seeing like the motif of sparkly confetti go onto the LED screen, really cool. And seeing our performers live projected up on screens and then disappearing and having that transfer into something else, really, really effective as well. So this idea that everything we see or hear should all be tied to another element of what's being performed so it feels like one cohesive whole. And that is a crucial point to creating not just a beautiful song, but a beautiful experience for your audience. Other thing I want to point out here is they're doing a lot of things with their body, like leaning forward and jutting their head forward and with their hands, that could be seen as tension inducing and negative and stressful and not helpful to the voice. What I want to point out here is that they are never stiff and never stuck or hold, or they are just doing it as an emotional effect. And for the most part, it doesn't seem to be showing in their voice. If all of a sudden you're doing a gesture and we're hearing it in your voice, that voice like punching and grabbing and getting stuck and stiff and tight and tense, then you need to rethink what you're doing with that gesture. Usually if it's an arm gesture, it means that you're engaging this neck in that arm gesture. Don't. Just do the arm gesture while keeping this released, and it'll communicate to the audience the same thing. Or lean forward and do all these different movements and gestures, but try to keep that voice lined up and try to keep things moving easy and not engage it here under your jaw, tongue, or throat. But let the rest of your body be as expressive and animated as you can let it be and as matches the music. And I think they do an awesome job with that here. Okay, so really interesting here. And usually I'm just focusing on what's awesome, but I think this is important to point out. I don't know their names. This is the first time I've ever watched these three guys sing together. So, gentleman in the red hair, you're hearing some rasp in his voice, right? It sounds like white noise or extra air escaping, not breathiness, not that kind of aspirate quality when we're hearing a quieter, softer sound. It's a sound of some rasp. It sounds like he's starting to get tired and fatigued and like he's pressing and that there's some damage going on there. And my guess is there probably is. He sounds like he's singing really hard on his voice. Now, am I trying to say good or bad? No, he's, as a performer, has placed his emphasis on being expressive and emotive and just really giving us everything he's got. The challenge with that is you're going to wear your voice out and you're not going to be able to sing as long as you would if you didn't do that. And it's ultimately in the long run going to limit your expressiveness. My suggestion is to find ways to be that expressive, to be as intense emotionally without it costing you here in your throat and in the quality of your voice and in your voice getting fatigued. What I'm hearing right now is breathiness on its own does not necessarily mean unhealthy singing or damage, but the sound that I'm hearing right now, because it sounds compressed, plus a little bit of rasp and white noise, does not sound healthy to me. It sounds compressed, pushed, forced, and like it's fatiguing, wearing out, getting tired, when it shouldn't be at this point if he's singing in a balanced, healthy way, unless he's sick or has allergies, in which case that's a different story. But we hear it cleaner before, so If over the course of the song we hear the quality of that voice change this significantly, that means we're spending vocal capital faster than our voice can repair itself. That's a dangerous sign. Do we love it? Yeah, of course we love it. I mean, it's so expressive. It's so emotional. We can just feel it intensely in our body. And so I don't want to downplay that. I think there's value there to be had. But as a performer, we always have to weigh the cost. And as a professional, we have to realize this instrument is our body. We can't replace it. We can't get a new one. We got one voice. We've got to take care of it. And so that's one area that I think as a performer, you always have to be really cognizant that you aren't damaging yourself or using the voice in a way where it could compromise you using it hour later, 2 hours later, a day later, a week later, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. If you're singing healthily, you should be able to sing well into your old and gray and wise years in a way that's healthy and easy and comfortable. And this sound I'm hearing right here, not so much. I think he's going to find that he's not going to last very long singing that way. Okay, now with what we're watching right there, notice it's still expressive. We still have a lot of different variety in the dynamics. He's emphasizing different word syllables. His body's engaged. But see how relaxed it here is in his jaw and his neck? Super relaxed. No tension there. Sound in his voice, super clear, super rich, warm, expressive. But we're not hearing any signs of compression, damage, force, tension, fatigue. Sounds like he's still got a whole concert's worth of songs in his voice left for him. If we go to red hair, notice all the stress here, all the tension, we're hearing it in his voice too. So it's something to watch for. One thing you can do is just gently rest your hand here on your neck and make sure that as you're singing that you're not feeling these neck muscles get tight or tense, especially here along the sides. Or you can even press here gently underneath with your tongue and make sure that that's staying as relaxed as well as possible. That's one way you can kind of monitor. You should be able to be super expressive, move your body, do all kinds of stuff without this getting tight and tense. If it's getting tight and tense here, it's going to end up costing you in your voice. Also, middle voice, relatively relaxed. Some strain here on the side in these strap muscles. I'm not hearing it so much in the voice though. The voice is still sounding relatively clean, clear. And so I wouldn't be surprised if what we're seeing down here is just a matter of moving his body and being expressive and posture, and that he's really thin as well. And so we're seeing every little thing his body does. So anytime we're singing or judging someone singing, it's not a matter of good or bad. I love this. I love what I'm seeing. I think they're all doing an excellent job with what they're doing. What I'm listening to as a voice coach and teacher is it sustainable? Is it something that they can do night after night after night after night after night and year after year? And is it this technique going to free them to make as many different sounds and be as expressive as possible? And what I'm seeing in blue hair and white hair is that it's a technique that sounds like it's doing really well for them. It's keeping them really consistent, sounds really consistent, is expressive, but really clean and clear when they want it to be, and giving them all kinds of options. Red hair, not so much. As he's singing, we're seeing fewer and fewer options. Sounds like it's getting more fatigued. He's losing choices rather than gaining them. Saving grace here for him, especially on these long held notes, this consistent airflow. This vibrato is showing that there's at least a relative level of release and openness and freedom in that voice, even with the fatigue that's going on, that's letting him carry all the way through. So excellent there. What I want to point out here also is movement wise, as the song went on, their bodies got more expressive. They started moving more. That doesn't necessarily mean their feet were dancing all over the stage. They still stayed relatively stationary. But notice how expressive they're able to be with still staying stationary. Am I trying to say that that's the right thing to do? No, it's an option. So if the music and the song and what's going through your head doesn't imply movement, it doesn't mean you just stand there and do nothing. No, still be as expressive as you can in that moment, being genuine to the music and the words. Can you dance around, jump around, still do all kinds of crazy stuff and be expressive and have that be exciting? Sure, if it matches the music and the words, that's always fun to watch too. But notice that what we care about the most is what's going on with that face, and it's from the face moving down is what we look at for honesty and for communication. So as long as our body's working really well, the audience is going to love it. If your body doesn't get stiff, stuck, tense, if it's communicating what the song and the music's communicating, we're good. The way you use this in a concert and a set of stuff is, if every song you're doing, you're just dancing and going crazy the whole time, then you better be in really, really, really good shape. Even still, it's probably a smart idea to have some songs that are a little more stationary, calm, not moving a ton, at least sections of a song, to give your body and mind a break. That's not important just for you, the performer. It's also important for the audience. It gives them a break to kind of cool down, process, and have different emotions. Remember, as a performer, we're wanting to take them on a roller coaster, not just take them up on a high level and keep it at the same. That might sound really exciting and cool, but really it's just numbing and ends up just being exhausting and tiring, and we stop being impressed and being amazed in about 5 minutes. That's about the attention span we have for something that's just impressive and just exciting. Then unless we come down or start having variety and difference from that, we're just going to lose our audience and they won't be as engaged. So it's really an effective tool to be able to feel confident being expressive as a stationary person and as one that can feel free to move around the entire stage if you feel the impulse to do so and if the music calls for it. Okay, finally, did you notice when that stage started to go down? As they start, we're singing the very last word of that last phrase, then we see this start going down, their body goes down, then the lights go down. We see what's about to happen. We see that transition, that conclusion, the resolution of the music and of the closing of the story happening in this smooth transition all the way through. Really, really important. A lot of people think that we hold everything, keep it the same until the very last moment, and then this abrupt shift out of it. Well, when we're thinking of an entire concert and this experience, we want to try to avoid these abrupt changes as much as possible that feel like they're manufactured and come out of left field. Even if there are abrupt changes, which can be effective, and we have big contrast moments, we want to still take the audience through and be able to transition visually and show them what they're about to start hearing right before they start hearing it. That will help it feel more organic and help it feel like there's a logical thought process that they can follow and come along from rather than just abruptly changing to something new. Have you found your voice? Whether you're wanting to sing easier or perform at a consistently higher level, you can find me at foundyourvoice.com and book a lesson. You can also find me on wizio.com, where you can submit a 5-minute video or less or audio clips to which I'll respond and give you feedback and suggestions with. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Comment down below with what you thought was awesome, why you like these singers, and what it was about this song that was so awesome. See you next time.